Hey, hello everyone, and welcome to this panel discussion where we are going to discuss about how to discuss about maintaining large open source projects. And to discuss about it, we have two special guests with me, Siddharth and Shikha. Hey, Siddharth and Shikha, thanks for joining, and very good morning.
Hey, thank you for
Santosh,
having
hi
me.
Sid.
Yeah, hi. So Shikha and Siddharth both are maintaining two large open source projects, which you might have heard about, or you might have used it as well. So they maintain Gatsby and Magento as full-time maintainers. So it will be interesting to learn about how they started their journey and then the tips which they have to share to new maintainers or the developers who wants to get started with open source projects and want to become a maintainer. So let's go ahead and get started. So first, Siddharth and Shikha, we would love to hear about your journey, how you started, and a small introduction about you. So Shikha, you want to go first?
Yeah, definitely. Hi Santosh, hi Sid again. And I'm Shikha Mishra, and I'm from Kushinagar, Uttar Pradesh. And I have done my schooling from Kushinagar only. And for my graduation in BTech, I have done it from SRM CEM Lucknow. And after doing my graduation, I joined a company which is Sedcos Technologies at its very early stage. And there I was working for Magento projects and Magento based clients for fixing their bugs and creating several extensions. So after extensively working over Magento projects for almost 2 to 3 years, I started doing contributions. I heard about it and I just tried to do my contribution over the Magento GitHub. And yeah, it's very interesting part for me. And after doing continuous contributions, it increases my interest in open source technologies. And then I applied to become a maintainer over the Magento GitHub. And since then, I'm extensively actively working for Magento maintainer as well as for contribution activities. And during this period only, I started a project in my organization that was the PWA Studio projects. For this, that was based on Magento PWA Studio project only. But for this, I learned a lot of new things related to front-end technologies like React, and also the APIs related work like GraphQL. And yeah, during this period only, I got an opportunity from Magento product development team to work with them for their products, like related to Magento upgrade related projects, and also creating extension for GraphQL APIs in Magento product only. So yeah, I worked over that. And after completion of the project, I resume my work over PWA Studio in my current organization, and I'm currently working on that. And recently, I have featured in GitHub README project. And yeah, that's all about me for my career
Oh,
journey.
that's really great. That's amazing journey you have. Sid, up to you. Over to you.
Sure. So hi, I'm Sid. I live in Mumbai, in India. I started out my journey in open source with Gatsby. In fact, I had only made small contributions to projects I'd used before Gatsby. Somewhere around, I think, December of 2018, was it? Is when I started working on Gatsby as a contractor. Gatsby was looking for someone to help them do first touch on GitHub. And I met Jason Lengstor via a friend and, started working with them. A couple of months later, we both liked working with each other. I decided to join full time. And yeah, it's been a pretty solid journey. I've been helping maintain Gatsby open source over the past 2 years. More recently, I've been working on Gatsby Cloud, which is our cloud platform to build your Gatsby apps, and you can also host them now. So yeah, my entire open source journey has been with Gatsby, and that's how I got started.
I'm sure it's fun to actually work with a company which is like open source and you are doing open source for the full time. So that's great. Good to hear. Yeah. So before we move ahead, like, so there is a fun fact which I wanted to share with you. I'm actually related to both the cities which Shikha and Sid is from. So I'm from Mumbai. I actually lived in Mumbai my entire life, almost for 29 years. And my family is from North UP. So yeah, so it's great to connect with both of you. So let's move on to the next question which we have. So I'm sure you have been working with in the open source for a long time now. You have been maintaining a large open source projects as well. So how it has actually impacted your career? So does it help being a maintainer of project or contributing to open source projects? Shikha, you want to go first?
Yeah, definitely. Like for me, like working over open source is more like knowledge sharing. And since I was working with the open source projects with my clients, so it helped me to find out all the things related to that particular projects which is being done on. And also I'm able to contribute and fix issues, also involve in the GitHub discussions. And based on that, like I'm very soon I started getting recognition out of my work. So yeah, so people recognize me for my work, and also I'm able to get to know about the things which is related to the work. Like I know the places where I need to find out, and I can easily get the answer of several questions from the clients. And apart from this, also I got feedback for my work from highly experienced developers. So it's really improved me for enhancing my skills and knowledge. So yeah, it's definitely like helping me very much to grow in my career.
What about you, Sid?
It's been great. I think there's been two parts to it. One is the fact that working on now Gatsby is a pretty huge project, right? We have I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but I think roughly about 400,000 downloads weekly. Now that's a lot of scale and that's a lot of users. And on such a large project, there's always a lot of nuance and complexity, right? And there's issues you kind of see that you wouldn't normally hit on a day-to-day basis. That's been something that's helped me level up tremendously as a dev. And besides that, working in the open, working in public, in open source is great because it's really helped me sort of build a presence and also build stuff to be able to show off on GitHub. So I think that's been pretty solid for my career.
Oh, that's great. I fully agree with that because I've been doing open source from last 1.5 years now, no, sorry, more than 2 years, and I can see the kind of impact it has on my career. So agreed with both of you. Now, next, let's move on to the next question. I'm sure there are a lot of new developers, and we have just seen the stats, and I'm really excited. I mean, India is one of the growing countries in terms of open source contribution. Million developers added in last 1 year, and I'm hoping for next 10 million soon. So how or what are your suggestions to the new developers who want to start contributing to open source? So Shikha, you want to take the stage first?
Yeah. For new developers, like I would suggest them to just go for any open source. Like if they want to have a graph, like they are just graduating and they want to join any product development companies or something. Like somewhere I have read about that. Like if you have some background in open source working, then there are more chances to get in a big product development companies. I have read it somewhere. So basically for that is also very helpful to improve their skills, and also the code you write on open source GitHub like repositories, then that will be exposed to everyone. So you more focus on your work. So definitely it is going to improve your skills. So for like basically they should not rush about doing the contribution. They should just go slightly, and they just I would suggest them to read out all the comments on the previous pull requests and issues, like just involve in the discussions first. and then they will learn the patterns over working on that. And also just not go for the code contribution, also go for the documentations. That is also very helpful part for any devs, and they will also realize it very soon whenever they will expose to real industries. So yeah, I would suggest them to be go slowly, don't rush, and be consistent with whatever they are doing. That's all my discussion, for this suggestion for this.
Great tips. What about you, Sid? I have seen Gatsby actually get very close with the developers or the developer community which is out there, and they have helped, I think, many developers to start contributing to open source. So I would love to hear from you how you do that. I mean, what are the tips you share with the new developers?
Yeah, that's a great question. So here's what I think. The best way to start contributing is to contribute to a project that you use frequently. If you're using any project in either your day-to-day work or on a side project, and you happen to hit a bug, maybe that's a great place to start. Try to create a small reproduction, open an issue, see if you can fix the bug yourself, open a pull request. Or even if it isn't a bug, often we read documentation, something is unclear, you're not sure exactly what a certain API looks like. Maybe a great place to start is to improve that documentation. And talking about Gatsby, with Gatsby, our contributions have been fantastic. I mean, Gatsby is what it is in a huge part because of the community. We've had over 2,000, if I recall correctly, contributors over time. And if you'd like to get started with Gatsby itself, we have a ton of open issues. I'm always happy to help and point you in the right direction. You can reach out to me on Twitter. We also have a Gatsby Discord, which is a great place for people to just get their feet wet and get started. You can find a link on our website. And no contribution is too small. So even if it's a typo, even if it's something fairly minor, that's still valuable. So it's always good to start from anything, really.
Agreed, totally agreed. Because I started my contribution in Angular with documentation, and it never mattered how small that PR is, but actually open source community welcomes or appreciates each and every PR. So in case you want to get started with open source contribution, just go ahead and get in touch with Siddharth and Shikha, and they will help you. Now let's move on to the next question, which is more on the terms of maintainers, because there are if you go to open source, there are a lot of consumers rather than the people who are actually helping the open source community, and maintainers are actually one of the important part of that entire ecosystem, I would say. So what are your suggestions to new maintainers of an open source projects? I mean, when they represent a community. So Siddharth, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I think, firstly, that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. I think, my only advice would be kind, be inclusive, and have empathy. I think a lot of users, when they stumble upon your project, might not have as much context as you do. And, something might seem unclear. Often issues aren't as detailed as you'd like them to be, but it's always a good idea, in my opinion, to be inclusive, ask the right questions, and try to foster that sort of community. Besides that, I think a couple of things on GitHub, right? I think issue templates are a great way to help point people in the right direction. Having maybe a Discord channel to be able to talk to folks who are trying to contribute is something that has been very helpful for Gatsby. And I can see a lot of maintainers, being able to benefit from that. And finally, I think labeling is a really helpful thing to do, right? GitHub has a couple of labels like good first issue that show up even if you search for a project, or if you search for good first issues. So if you identify issues in your project that you think are a good starting point for new contributors. As a maintainer, labeling them, editing their descriptions for those to be really clear. These are things that really help you scale, your project as a maintainer and help you invite the right kind of contributions. So that's what I would recommend. Be inclusive and, edit your issues, write them well, label them.
Oh, that's great. Great tips. What about you, Shikha?
Yeah, I completely agree with Sid. Like whatever he was suggesting, like to have issue templates and labeling and also editing the issue description. Basically, for Magento itself, like we also like there are GitHub templates for issues, and also you can also add the good first issues based on if they are contributing for the first time. I would also like to add some things, like if you are a maintainer and you are reviewing, so like that's the thing, like there are some little mistakes, like there is just changes in one line and one file, and you just approve it without checking all the automation test is passed. So like sometimes it happens like the test is not actually passed. So make sure that you are checking all the things before approving the pull request. Also, I would suggest that like sometime I've seen that like some people, some maintainers or whatever, like in some cases, like we are adding some comments for the contributor and we are not available there to answer their questions over that is coming out of our comments. So make sure that you are available on time to have like answer the contributors' questions as well. And being a maintainer, I would like, it's not required to have the knowledge of each and every sections you are checking and contributor is working. So make sure like if there is possibility to have like you can ask for discussion and views from other maintainers. So just try to initiate the discussion for for other maintainers views as well, so that the perfect solution should be delivered to the main branches. And yeah, that's all for my point of view.
That's great tip. So the next question is really important to everyone who is involved in open source or even not involved in open source, right? So how to stay away from burnout? So I'm sure it happens to everyone, and you may have been in the same scenario. So if you can share your stories and how you were able to actually stay away from burnout, how you disconnected yourself. So I'll be happy to actually hear your experiences. So Sid, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. I mean, burnout is inevitable, I think, to a certain extent. And it happens to everybody. It's happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to you all as well. I think what's really important is work-life balance, right? I think we take for granted that, especially with the pandemic, it's easy to get lost in your work and spend too much time working and not, taking time out to do things that you really enjoy. Even if you really enjoy coding and you want to do that outside of work, I still recommend trying to take time away from screens. Go out, get some fresh air, and find hobbies that don't have to do with a computer. I think that sort of balance really helps. One of the things I do is I like diving, so I travel whenever I can. In fact, I'm doing that right now. So yeah, try to find some solid work-life balance, maintain boundaries, take time off regularly for yourself to recuperate, and don't work weekends. That's something that I see a lot of people doing early in their career, and I would not recommend it. Don't work weekends.
Agreed. So what about you, Shikha?
Yeah, I completely agree with Sid, because like there is and during this lockdown period especially, there are a lot of chances to have stress over the work. And what I do, I do to prioritize my work first, so that like I'm not working on less important tasks very much. So the prioritization is helping me out very much. And apart from this, as the Sid said, taking periodically time off from your screen time and just go involve in some other activities, that is also helping us, like helping everyone a lot to avoid this stress. And apart from this, like if you are working on certain task and you have to achieve some milestone in your work, so if it is required to do extra efforts and take extra stress and be focused on that, so in that case, like I would suggest to find out the motivation out of your work, trying to get note down all the benefits and learnings you are getting through that work. So in that case, like if you are working hard and working too much and with very stress, so in that situation also you find the motivation to work. And I really feel that if you are really motivated and passionate about your work, there are less chances that you will get stressed out of your work. So that's the thing, that's the thing to avoid your stress at your professional life.
Wow, that's great. So thanks for sharing the tips. So now next question which I have is, everyone has their own motivation, right? So whenever they do something, so what your motivation, what drives you towards the open source country or doing open source contribution or maintaining the community or helping the community? So Shikha, you want
That's
to
a
go
great
first?
question. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Go for
okay.
it, Shikha.
The motivation is to for me, the motivation is to gather the knowledge and share your knowledge. Like it's a great feeling if you are able to help others community and be involved in that, and you can be recognized for your work. So the main motivation for me is to you can have the expert opinion on your working, and also you can improve your skills, you can be involved in several discussion, and there your suggestion might be matter most. Maybe there are some chances like your suggestion will be counted as one of the best suggestion, and that can be implemented in a way. And if even if you are working in a big organization, they are also including your thoughts in their product. So it's a great feeling of achievement for me, if you are being recognized for your work. So knowledge sharing is the most motivation for me for working on open source. Like I can be involved in the discussions, and also I can learn a lot from their experiences.
Oh, that's great. So what about you, Sid? What's your motivation?
My motivation is that I get paid for it. I'm kidding, but I think I'm half kidding. The other thing that the thing I like the most about open source, on a serious note, is that there's the sort of scale in open source projects that's hard to find in day-to-day product development. I mean, unless you're working on a really large project or a really large product like maybe Twitter or Facebook, it's likely that your open source project will probably see more users than the product you're using it for, maybe. And that kind of scale brings a really different class of problems and a really different class of complexity. I've really been enjoying that at Gatsby. It's hard, but it's also it's hard to solve difficult problems. I've noticed that that's driven me. Another thing that's driven me has just been open source is really satisfying in the fact that when you see other people being able to create real value from your work. I think it's a huge multiplier in terms of how much of an impact you can have, right? Versus building one product or building something that's used in many products. That's really been driving me at Gatsby, seeing all the fantastic projects people create with it. So yeah, that's what's driven me so far.
That's great. So let's move on to our last question for the day. So you both have been maintaining Gatsby and Magento. So where developers can learn more about it. So Sid, do you want to go first?
Sure. You can learn more about Gatsby at GatsbyJS.com. You can also learn more about Gatsby on Twitter. If you have questions, you can tweet to Ask Gatsby, or just follow us, tweet at me. I'm happy to answer any questions you have, or meet us on the Discord or on GitHub. We're everywhere.
Okay. Over to you, Sakshi.
For Magento related stuff, like the main repository of Magento is github.com/Magento and Magento 2. In that, you can also find multiple projects in the same repositories, stuff related to PHP 8 migration, and also some GraphQL pull requests. And apart from this, Magento also having some kind of open source repositories for PWA studios, which is based on the React and Node. And also there is a DevDoc repository for Magento PW Studio. Magento PW Studio, also the Magento main repository. So there you can find all the information related to Magento stuffs, like how you can start working, how you can create your issues, you can create your pull request, and how you can install even the Magento, all the features related to it. So yeah, the Magento github.com/Magento/Magento 2 is the main repository where you can find all the stuff.
That's great. So thanks a lot, Siddharth and Shikha, for joining us. And it was, I'm sure this conversation is going to help a lot of developers out there. And in case you have any questions, feel free to reach out to anyone. Sid and Shikha is available on Twitter, and you can just find their Twitter handle in the GitHub Satellite page, and feel free to connect with them. And you can also discuss about it in GitHub discussions. So yep, that's it for the day, and see you all. Thank you, Sid, and thank you, Shikha.